Hi all, Rick here. I've covered the Paladin class already, a 26th century vessel of Starfleet drawn from Star Trek Online, and in this one I'm continuing to look at the ships of this era. As much of the technology was uniformly introduced across numerous ships, I'm focusing on a different aspect with each video, this time looking into the strange materials of the 26th century ships that they were built from. Beginning with its real-world development. Hector Ortiz did many concepts for the 26th century Starfleet, and the Theseus class was created to continue to embody the designs of the Enterprise J. That design was deliberately more out there than ships we have seen, considering it was to be a far future version of the Federation. This is why we see spindly nacelles and such a strange shape. In the same way the Enterprise J was referential to the NX-01, the new ships from this era would be derived from the profiles of other 23rd century ships, introduced in the same expansion, just a lot flatter to reference the J. One of the guiding ideas behind them was that the ships were being tailored to have a greater focus on form, how they looked, because technology was so advanced and shipbuilding was so honed enough that more effort could be put into styling while maintaining their function. For this reason, the ships he designed had some rather strange concepts. The Theseus and its sister ships are constructed from a strange material that is flexible, almost liquid, and said to resemble porcelain, yet ripples to the touch, and its surface can feel like running your hand over water. It retains a charge and is laced with power. The centre top of the vessel, the yellow glow, is produced by excess energy reserves pooling at the centre, and occasionally spaceborne lifeforms that feed off of energy can be seen feeding off it like birds would at a public fountain. This malleable substance is not exactly a liquid, but the behaviour of it is similar to flowing programmable matter of the 31st century onwards and shows a clear progression of tech. On the inside, the corridors and quarters of the Starship nearer the hull could be made transparent at a whim, allowing for an unobstructed view of space, and each hallway was lined with hollow projectors that could change the internal scene in a manner to a holodeck. This was all in service to the 26th century values of a desire to feel more connected to the universe as a whole. Now, the name of the Theseus was chosen before the existence of the USS Theseus, Sisko's vessel drawn from the comics. However, that is a special case as an ongoing testbed vessel, and this was a class of its own, separated by at least 150 years of development, therefore the name was likely freed up. The mission profile for this class was as an escort, designed to defend and patrol other systems or facilities for protection. While they could be dispatched on missions, they would have been expected to perform it and then return, rather than venture on to continual deep space operations back to back. The Theseus class held an advanced tactical computer system, descended from the M series of the Daystrom Institute. Essentially, this dedicated computer system had the sole focus of improving tactical capabilities of the vessel and crew. In combat, it would derive strategies, firing solutions, adaptations and such on the fly, improving overall weapons performance and adapting to incorporate the capabilities of the crew, increasing overall damage output by around 15% and efficiency by 25%. As with many ships of the era, by the 2550s, the temporal Cold War was risking escalation, and this was centred around the Sphere Builders' attempt to intrude into normal spacetime from their realm using the Expanse spheres. Thanks to this, numerous Starfleet vessels were adapted to undertake missions into other times and timelines in an attempt to reinforce the temporal integrity of the Prime Universe. This feat would invariably lead to the birth of the 29th century Time Fleet, but for now, Starfleet was doing what it could to uphold the Temporal Prime Directive. The Theseus class was one of these lines that received a temporal refit, expanding its theatre of operations to include time travel. Among numerous other updates, it received the molecular reconstruction system and a unique time stream rift launcher. For more info on the molecular reconstruction, you can check my breakdown of the Paladin class, but it essentially allowed for the literal reconfiguration of ships' systems to favour different roles. In terms of armaments, it was equipped with a modular phaser array that could perform as turrets, beams or cannons. At the front there are 2 more cannons that are more powerful but have a narrower field of fire. However, these recessed strips fired from 3 points each for a total of 6. It also featured variable torpedo launchers. The temporal rift warhead launcher fired a projectile that, when detonated, would create a rift in space-time that limited movement and interfered with the struck ship by introducing temporal instability. This is the sort of weapon that was later banned by the general outlawing of time travel after the 32nd century, and in a way, it's good to see that even Starfleet was tempted and occasionally utilised such weapons when pushed to. It also came equipped with a Mark X hyper-excited ion stream projectile, which, well, basically, it was a good old-fashioned lightning strike weapon. It overloaded things with a blast of electricity akin to a plasma discharge of the Badlands or similar hazard. I can see why one of these ships was named the USS Mjolnir. Its narrower profile also presented a much thinner target when front-facing or retreating, as the reduced mass also aided in its impulse speeds, providing a ton of manoeuvrability. As with the other ships of this era, the warp speeds are unclear, but it could maintain speeds in excess of warp 9, had quantum slipstream, and access to the Federation transwarp network. So, overall, it fulfills a role needed in the fleet, a standard patrol and defence craft, tailored for short-term missions, and it would support the fleet, protecting larger vessels from being intercepted or harried by smaller ships. Seeing the strange technology and the materials that went into its production helps paint a picture of the overall Starfleet, and we're pushing into tech that almost doesn't make sense. I like that it's getting to the point in this era where Starfleet designs are able to incorporate things like aesthetics and the focus on integration with a wider universe, even on their combat vessels. With a hull like flowing water, translucent views of space, and the allowance of cosmozoan lifeforms to come and go, drinking from the surplus power running through the vessel's very hull, it's the most zen battlecraft I've seen. So that's the Theseus class temporal escort. Until the next video, I've been Rick, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.